Hello. Do you teach your thing, your art, your craft, the thing that you make, the thing that you love showing people about? Do you teach in-person classes for that thing? Perhaps you have your own studio and people come. Perhaps you hire village halls, have a range of places where you go. Maybe you teach at other people's shops or studios or spaces. Anyway, you teach your thing. Have you created an online on-demand version of that thing? So when I'm talking about online on-demand, I'm talking about an online course that's hosted on a platform somewhere, not doing kind of live Zooms. No, all you're doing there is moving your location from a hall or a studio to Zoom. You still have to go and do the thing, right? So, so there are a lot of benefits to your business for creating that online, on-demand, video-based version of your online, of your in-person classes. And so my first question is, if you have created online versions, then perhaps you'd like to share how that's doing for your art practice, for your business. And if you haven't, why not? So I'm Susan Weeks, and yes, I host the Stitchery Stories Textile Art podcast, but my main business is teaching people how to create online courses, plus a whole load of other things. Right, so creating an online version of your in-person classes can have a lot of advantages for your business. So let's face it, running in-person classes can be a lot of fun, very satisfying, teaching people. People like to come along and do this sort of thing. It's really a special treat as well, a special treat to go to workshops and classes. However, from a business point of view, then oh, gosh, there's been a lot of hurdles, haven't there, over the last couple of years, and a lot of them are ongoing. Plus now, just the price of heat in the bloody rooms now is just going to start to impact on profitability of doing them. Plus, you've got a lot of trekking around, possibly if you go into different venues. So there's a lot of nice things about doing it, but there's also can be quite a lot of, well, let's be blunt, irritations with running a lot of in-person classes. You also, let's face it, you run out of weekends. You have to be there, you have to show up each time. So creating an on-demand online version really can free up your time, particularly. And quite often when I'm speaking to people about this, it's like, oh, well, I like doing my in-person classes. Yes, of course you do. We all like going to them. Doesn't mean that you don't do any more in-person classes. What you're doing is adding into your business. What you're doing is providing benefits to you as the creative business owner, but you're also adding benefits to your students, the people who turn up to your your classes. So I've just got a few notes down here. That's what I'm looking down at. A couple of points that I just wanted to share with you this morning. Now, from the learner's perspective, yes, it's a treat going to online classes. However, there's a whole lot of people who are excluded from doing that. People with health conditions may not feel confident about doing that anymore. Travelling, yeah, even the cost of petrol, etc., is getting a lot more expensive for people. And everything has to be kind of crammed into one day, doesn't it? And there's certain, depending on what you're teaching, then it's also something that quite often you may need to practice quite a bit to actually get the hang of it. So having an online on-demand version helps your students because they can work at their pace, in their comfort, and they can go over things and stop the video and rewind it and go back over and over again to practice the techniques that they are inspired to learn from you. So it really helps the participants to have an online version. So again, I am not talking about doing this live on Zoom. I'm talking about putting the time in to record video versions and for them to be on a kind of a course hosting platform somewhere safe and secure and usable from the point of view of both you and your participants. So you are enabling, you can reach and teach more students, more people have access to you. If you're just in a certain local area, then you are excluding a wider population, so you can reach and teach more people, and your students can learn in a way in which they prefer. And I'll come back to a couple of reasons from the student's point of view while these are handy. Yes, being there in person is great. You can lean over and show somebody how to do something. From your business point of view, then creating an online on-demand version of your in-person classes, really one of the things that you have a massive advantage over all the other people who are thinking about creating an online course, but they're not really very sure what they're going to do, one of, etc., etc. So there's a lot of people who fancy having an online course, but they've never actually taught anything. They've just thought about it. You've got a massive advantage because you are already earning money teaching your thing. You have classes that are proven to be attractive, that you've already proved that people will pay you money to come and attend. That is a massive advantage over all the thinking about it crew, which perhaps you maybe haven't thought about. Sometimes these things can be under our nose, can't they? So you already have a massive advantage. You have classes that people are already paying you to come along. You've already kind of ironed out the process. You already know what the class, how it would work. You've already done that. So much of the kind of learning how to create an online course, a lot of it is all about the developing the course, what order, what it's going to be, will anybody buy it? You've already got rid of all of that because you're actually doing it in person. You've actually got proved and tested courses people want to buy. What you're going to do is create a version of, to deliver it on demand online, yeah? And the benefit from doing that, it's going to free up your time massively. It gives you control. So then, if you live somewhere where the weather's dreadful and you can't predict what's going to happen with the weather to actually get out to be able to go and do classes, it doesn't matter about the weather, okay? You've got options there where people can learn from you regardless of where they are and what the bloody weather's like, yeah? It doesn't matter about, if you're not feeling great or you have health challenges, then these are perfect for you anyway. Maybe you've just had enough of using every weekend and, using those for running these classes. You don't have to do that if you've got an online version of it. It's helping you to manage costs. It's a lot less hassle. And yeah, your students can learn when, where and how they want. So a lot of advantages for doing that. So really my kind of big question is, if you haven't created on-demand versions of your in-person classes, why not? What is it that's holding you back? Quite often the kind of three main things that people will share with me is, oh Sue, well, I don't really have the time. Yes, there is an investment in time to create an online course for sure. There really is. It can then pay back so much time because you don't have to be physically there all the time repeating yourself. Yeah, and the excitement of money popping into your bank account when people are learning from you and you're sat doing your stitching or your art or your making, because you've freed up your time. So it is kind of a time management, priorities. So yeah, it can be a challenge. Lots of people have overcome that, however, and they've got their courses up and running. The one that people speak to me most about is, it's that fear of the techie stuff, as everyone calls it. I'm rubbish at tech, people tell me. Well, there's different ways of making the process a lot easier, and my kind of main ethos is I make course creation faster and easier for you. So yes, I have a very long career in technology and training. So my kind of superpower is helping people to explain technology and teach the techie stuff. Of course, I'm also a creative textile artist, crafter, maker myself. So I really understand where you're all coming from. And because of my podcast, I also speak to a lot of artists about the whole kind of making process. So I understand where you're all coming from, which makes me quite unique compared to some of the big course gurus who have never picked up a needle or made a thing in their life, okay? So yeah, the techie stuff, but you can actually make that easier by just getting some decent, sensible, appropriate advice and finding someone who can actually teach you the things that you need. So I'm actually, one thing that I'm helping a lot of artists with at the moment is that. So if you've got somebody to help you, to share resources with and to take you by the hand, then the techie stuff, that problem goes away as well. And fear of the techie stuff, fear of being on camera, fear of being online. Well, there's really, to be quite blunt, no difference between being on camera and doing something in a hall. So if you've been going around teaching people in real life, is it any different doing it in front of a video? Maybe you don't have an audience to play to, as it were. Okay, so there can be hurdles, but really what I'd like for you to share with me, either kind of in the comments or, send me a message. I'm always really happy if there's things that you've thought about doing, creating an on-demand version, but there's something stopping you, then I'd really like to know what is stopping you. And, or if there's things that you know that you're going to need some help with, then again, just drop me a message. I'm always happy to help. I'm always happy to answer questions. There are the same kind of comments pop up over and over again. And over on my website, which is virtualityworks.com, then I have a resource, a learning centre there. And there's a lot of videos where I talk about a lot of these common issues around creating an online course. But please feel free to reach out, send me a message. I'm always really happy to help, and I'm really fascinated to work out what it is that is stopping you from creating the online, on-demand version of your in-person classes. So just think about that. Think about the massive advantage that you already have in that you create things that people turn up to. It's time now to leverage, to take control, to make things easier for yourself, and to bring in another stream of income. Remember, this is an alternative. We're not saying don't do in-person classes anymore. Have both. Bit of a no-brainer, really. So I shall leave it at that. Message me if you need any help. If you want to share why you're stuck, then I'm very happy to help. And so now it's stopped raining and I'm going to pop out because I've got some birthday presents to buy. Have a lovely weekend, and I wish you all the success with your classes, whether you run them in person or online. But I'm here to help you create that online version. Bye for now.